What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kayambei, and as requested, we are doing a Melody Sheep reaction today. From the comments that I saw on my last Melody Sheep reaction, a couple of you wanted the Life Beyond series, so we're going to go ahead and do one of those. Now, the video I picked from the Life Beyond series was the second one because of how many likes it got, and because the third one didn't receive as much, and the first one was still under the second one, so the second installment of that series seems to be the most popular among you guys, so that's what I decided to do. So thank you guys for joining me. This one is an exclusive reaction for YouTube only. I didn't do this one on stream. This one is really just for you guys on here that really enjoyed it. So here we go. Without further ado, I know I've made you guys wait a long time, but yeah, I'm finally getting around to doing another Melody Sheep reaction. So here it is. Life Beyond 2, the Museum of Alien Life in 4K, and this is brought to you by Melody Sheep. Let's do it! In all the universe, there stands only one known tree of life. And I just want to say one thing before we get into it. I think I want to commend Melody Sheep on the fact that he really does know how to set the tone and provide visuals that really explain things very well. You got to commend the guy. Does it stand alone? Or is it part of a vast cosmic wilderness? I'd say cosmic wilderness. There's probably other conditions for organisms to survive. Imagine a museum containing every type of life form in the universe. Well, I can because we have something similar here on our planet. What strange things would such a museum hold? Possible under laws. Chapter 2, the Museum of Alien Life.
To have any hope of finding alien life, we have to know what to look for. But where do we begin? How do we narrow down a seemingly infinite set of possibilities? There's one thing we know for sure. Nature will have to play by her own rules. No matter how strange alien life might be, it's going to be limited by the same physical and chemical laws that we are.
In my experience, at least from what I can see on this planet, a lot of animals are weird, right? You do have a lot of variances, but they're usually to accommodate for its surroundings and its environment. So, but although you have that, for example, if you think of those like deep sea fish, the ones with the huge ass mouths and those really ugly ones from Finding Nemo, those deep sea fishes, the reason they look like that is because they're never in the sunlight. The reason they have that glowy thing in front of their face is because they need to attract prey. And the way they do that is by shining that little bulb in front of them, and it attracts fish because it's too dark to see. And from what I've seen, it doesn't even look like they really have the ability to see. I think a lot of sea creatures operate off vibration. when you go down into the depths of the ocean. So a lot of the variances in even just examples of on our planet, they come from their surroundings. And you can find a lot of variances here. You can find a fish that looks like an alien if you go deep enough. So my thinking is, if there was another planet out there able to host life, you wouldn't have that many variances in terms of like, for example, there actually being fish. They'll still look like a fish. You could probably still understand like, hey, this is a fish, but it might have different details based on what the water content might be, or the terrain might be, or how deep the oceans go. So I think that's where you're going to see variances. But in my opinion, if I'm just guessing, right, because I've never been to any of these planets or any of these places, I would think that you would see a lot of similarities between us and alien examples. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of things that are just, as far as we know. Again, a lot of this is as far as we know. But from our standpoint, there are things that exist in nature that are just law, like Melody Sheep brings up. And typically, those things are just laws that all life has to abide by. It's not just us. As far as we know, you need certain things like oxygen and water for life to be able to even exist.
On top of this, each alien environment will further limit what kinds of life forms can evolve there. Despite these natural boundaries, the possibilities are staggering to imagine. Trillions of planets, each a unique cauldron of chemicals undergoing their own complex evolution.
And sorry, one more thing. I think where the variation is, if there is life out there or not, is really time. I think time is the biggest factor here, because you got to think, if planets are being created, right? We're on the tail end of things where we're billions of years old and stuff. But if you are to go further out, right, I believe those are supposed to be the more younger planets, right? The younger solar systems are kind of following the Big Bang. And from what I understand, the Big Bang is ever expanding, right? Or if you depending on what theory you subscribe to, let's say it's the Big Bang. If you're using the Big Bang model, as the universe expands, that is creating new planets and new ecosystems. So I think in my simian brain that it is very much contingent on how soon this planet has been developed, or how long ago this planet has been developed. So a lot of the life that's out there might not be developed as far as maybe we have, but we're also not as developed as another planet or another species in the opposite direction of the Big Bang. At least that's my understanding, and I maybe look like a total complete moron by really expanding on this, but I think that's where a lot of the variation in the way an alien might look also be, just where they are in their evolution. Hopefully that makes sense.
To guide our thinking, this museum of alien life will be divided into two exhibits. Life as we know it, home to beings with biochemistries like ours, and life as we don't know it, home to beings that challenge our concept of life itself.
There you go. I think that's a better way of putting it than I could. There are also other things that we don't know about space.
Before we venture too far into the unknown, we have to ask ourselves, what if alien life is more like us than we think?
They say octopuses are aliens, and I'm inclined to believe them. Exhibit 1, life as we know it.
If there's one feature that unites us with the other specimens in this museum, it's carbon.
Carbon is ubiquitous. It's one of the most common elements in the universe, and it's very good at forming large, stable molecules.
Carbon has the rare ability to form four-way bonds with other elements and to bind to itself in long, stable chains, enabling the formation of huge, complex molecules. This versatility makes carbon the centerpiece in the molecular machinery of life. And the same carbon compounds that we use have been found far from Earth, clinging to meteorites and floating in far-off clouds of cosmic dust. The building.
This video makes me wish I paid attention more in chemistry. I actually did terrible in chemistry. I'm horrible at chemistry. It's just not my... I never got the numbers with the letters. Like, I never made that. You know, I never... That never clicked in my brain, so... This is gonna go... A lot of this is gonna go over my head, just so you guys know. And I'm probably gonna sound like an idiot for most of this video, just so you guys know. But... Ask and you shall receive. I am here to entertain, not to educate.
Blocks of life, drifting like snow through the universe.
At least in this facet.
And if alien life has selected other carbon compounds for their biochemistry, they will have plenty to choose from. Scientists recently identified over 1 million possible alternatives to DNA. All carbon-based.
Wow. And I think that's where you're going to see the variation.
If we ever discover other carbon-based life forms, we would be fundamentally related. They would be our cosmic brethren. But would they look anything like us? If they hail from Earth-like planets, we could share even more in common than just our biochemistry.
What would life be like on other planets if it has evolved? Would it be like the world today here on Earth? Or would it be completely different?
I would say that it would be a slightly different... You know, there are variables, but generally I would feel like it would be a slightly different version of our reality. But hey, who knows, right? But I would think that at some point civilizations kind of follow a similar route of like power, domination. There are certain kind of scenarios that I think I would assume every civilization almost goes through. Some kind of like hierarchy system, some kind of obsession with technology and transportation, some sort of idea of happiness, some sort of concept of art and expression. And I think I made this point on my last Melody Sheep reaction video, but I think those kind of remain true. That would be my guess, that those kind of concepts remain true, and at some point, at one point or another, civilizations crossed that threshold.
There are those who argue that from the argument of convergent evolution, if conditions on other planets are similar to here, then we would see very similar life forms.
There you go.
Animal and plant-like organisms that look very familiar.
On Earth, certain features like eyesight, echolocation, and flight have evolved multiple times independently in different species.
Right.
This process of convergent evolution could extend to alien planets like Earth, where creatures face similar environmental pressures.
Right, and I think every life form does. I think it's just contingent on what your planet's resources are, what exists on in your habitat. And that, I think, forms those differences. But I think there are still sea creatures, there are still land creatures, there are still creatures that fly. And maybe that's a better way of putting it than the way I did before.
It's no guarantee, but there could be certain universalities of life.
Oh, so he doesn't know
The
he's
greatest
struggling
hits
just like
of
I am.
evolution on repeat across the universe. Each feature would be attuned to its local environment.
Right.
Dimly lit planets would produce huge eyes to suck in extra light,
Right.
like nocturnal mammals.
Right. Yeah.
Some people have gone so far as to say that human-type organism, humanoids, will occur on other planets.
The existence of other human-like organisms seems unlikely, given the long, convoluted chain of events that produced us. But we can't rule it out. If just one in every 100 trillion Earth-like planets produced a human-like form, there could still be thousands of creatures like us out there.
But in reality, we are more likely to find something lower in the food chain.
Convergent evolution is also rampant in plant life, and C4 photosynthesis has arisen independently over 40 times. Would alien plants look like ours or something else entirely? On Earth, plants appear green because they absorb the other wavelengths in the sun's light spectrum.
I never knew that.
But stars come in many colors. And alien plants would evolve different pigments to adapt to their sun's unique spectrum.
Right. But I'm sure every planet has fauna. Unless you're Mars. But then Mars doesn't house life. Anymore.
Plants feeding off hotter stars could appear redder by absorbing their energy-rich bluer light.
Yes. Makes sense.
Around dim red dwarf stars, vegetation could appear black, adapted to absorb all visible wavelengths of light. Earth itself may have once appeared purple due to a pigment called retinol that was an early precursor to chlorophyll. Some think that retinol's molecular simplicity could make it a more universal pigment. If so, we may find that purple is life's favorite color.
It's a great color. I love purple.
But the color of alien vegetation is more than just a curiosity. It's chemical information that can be seen from light years away. Earth plants leave a signature bump in the light reflected off our planet. Finding a similar signal from another world could point the way to alien vegetation. Perhaps this will be our first glimpse at alien life. A vibrant hue cast by a distant world.
but the biggest influence on life won't be its host star. It'll be its home planet. Right.
What happens when you change the day length of a planet? What happens when you change the tilt of a planet? What happens when you change the shape of the orbit? What happens when you change the gravity of a planet?
That was going to be my point, the gravity. The gravity also plays a role into how life develops. So, like, for example, as I understand it, we look older because of gravity. Gravity plays a role in, like, how we age and how old we look. Along with like things like the content mixture of the air, things like that. Like what is, because not every planet is going to have the same mixture of molecules from what, or the same measurements, right? So even that, there's so many variables. So absolutely, like it's almost endless. It's almost like endless possibilities. It is endless possibilities.
Planets with long elliptical orbits would see drastic seasons. There could be worlds that appear dead for thousands of years, then suddenly spring to life. Most of the rocky planets discovered so far have been massive super-Earths. How would life evolve on these worlds? In the seas, gravity may not matter much at all.
A high-gravity planet isn't high gravity all over. If you're in the sea, and that's where all life starts, there's very nearly no gravity because you're much the same density as the stuff around you. It's when the animals come out on land that they feel the gravity.
High G-forces would necessitate large bones and muscle mass and complex life on land. They would also demand a more robust circulatory system. And plant life could be stunted by the energy cost of carrying nutrients under stronger gravity.
Sure. Less fauna.
Low-gravity planets would more easily lose their atmospheres to space and
I'm so
lack
glad
a
he's going into the
magnetic
gravity
field
aspect.
to protect from cosmic rays.
Because that was literally like, I would say gravity is a huge factor. Here it is. Yeah, it is.
But smaller worlds could be home to secret oases. Huge cave systems that provide hideouts for life.
Especially if the surface is inhospitable to that. With steadier temperatures and protection from cosmic rays, life could thrive underground on planets with deadly surfaces. I swear to God, guys, I swear to God, I've never seen this before. I promise you, hand to God, I've never seen it before. It's just coincidence, and it's just, my mind is kind of just trending this way. But yeah, I have not seen this before. I promise you. This is just horrible coincidence. I know, especially for a reaction video. Horrible.
The smallest possible habitable planets are estimated at 2.5% Earth's mass. If surface life does evolve on these worlds, it could be a sight to behold. Plant life could grow to towering heights, able to carry nutrients higher in lesser gravity. And without the need for bulky skeletons and muscle mass, animals could have body types that boggle the mind.
Or even humanoids, if you think about it, right? Like, if we had less gravity to no gravity, essentially we'd be able to float. And if you were to put that in a time capsule for 1,000,000 years or whatever, or a couple million years, I'm sure that we would develop a means of travel through the sky versus more toes, right? Because our toes help us balance and help us deal with gravity and walk. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but if you remove a pinky toe from somebody, they are completely thrown off. Their balance is almost, it's much harder to deal with. So if you did have a planet with less gravity, even humanoid creatures like us might even develop ways of navigating that less gravity space, that kind of floaty space, to where they might even find a way to prolong their landing. So I can even see how that might happen to even humans. If we were to go to a planet, right? We go to a planet with much less gravity, and over time, we obviously move to that planet, live on that planet, thrive on that planet. I bet you would see things like maybe webbed hands or webbed feet, or maybe not sprouting wings, you know what I mean? But different adjustments over time that would allow us to navigate easier in a space. Even if we went the way we are now, I'm sure you would see those kind of genetic mutations and evolution probably millions of years down the line, assuming that we don't rely on technology as much. And even if we did, we'd see different changes. Despite our eager imaginations, large complex life forms are probably a cosmic rarity.
Here on Earth, it took 3 billion years for evolution to produce complex plant and animal life. Simpler organisms are hardier, more adaptable, and more widespread. The largest collection in the Museum of Alien Life would likely be the Hall of Microbes.
Even here, that's a huge category. I mean, just try to play any herbalism or any alchemy or any type of craft system in any game. What are you gonna find? Something like that. There's a reason why not a lot of people, at least in my experience when it comes to video games, I don't engage a lot in craft systems or any of that alchemy, herbalism, but this is why. There's a lot to it, and there are a lot of variations of plants and all that stuff, even here, even in video games. So yeah, in any situation or any planet, if you were to study any of them, I'm sure this would be the biggest category. By far. These are the origins of
even
life.
The tiniest alien microbe would be a profound discovery.
Dude, the visuals on
Bite-sized
melodysheep's
life
videos.
could leave a big footprint. Like stromatolites on Earth, layers of microbes could build up into huge rock mounds over time, leaving behind eerie structures. And in big enough numbers, some alien bacteria could leave a distinct biosignature by exhaling gases that wouldn't coexist naturally, like oxygen and methane.
There's ways to make oxygen without life, there's ways to make methane without life, but to have them in the atmosphere together is almost impossible unless you've got biology making those gases at the surface. And it would have an imprint on the planet's spectrum of colors.
Next-generation space telescopes could find a signal like this on a world not far from home.
The closest Sun-like star with an Earth-like exoplanet in the habitable zone is probably only 20 light years away and can be seen with the naked eye.
That is crazy to think about. but there may be an even riskier target, easier target to aim for than tiny Earth-like planets. The brown dwarfs, too small to be stars, too big to be planets. Even that's crazy to think of.
Most brown dwarfs are too hot to support life as we know it, but some are just cold enough.
I'm sure there are planets with life forms that just will never evolve and change and grow, be able to grow because lack of resources. I'm sure those planets exist too. Like a planet of only like larval state beings, or a planet of only flora. You know, like certain things don't facilitate a fully realized existence of life. And yeah, I think that's also the case, you know, more often than not.
All the prime elements for life have been detected inside their atmospheres. And within these clouds, some layers would provide ideal temperatures and pressures for habitability. There could be photosynthetic plankton in these skies, kept aloft by churning upwinds. And with enough force, these upwinds could even support larger, more complex life. Predators.
There are over 25 billion brown dwarfs in our galaxy alone, and their sizes will make them easier targets for study. The first specimen we discover from the Museum of Life may not come from a planet at all.
This raises a crucial question. What if we've been looking in all the wrong places? What if nature has other ideas?
Exhibit 2, Life as We Don't Know It, Exotic Biochemistries. Looks like something I saw in a coffee shop once.
Most of the universe is too cold or too hot for liquid water and the biochemistry that supports life as we know it.
Right.
But in case our biases are misleading, we have to cast a wide net to search for life outside the habitable zone, in places that seem wildly hostile to us. Exotic environments will demand exotic biochemistries, and while no element can match carbon's versatility, one contender is a frontrunner. At first glance, silicon seems similar to carbon. It forms the same four-way bonds and is also abundant in the universe.
I didn't know that.
But a closer look reveals that these two elements are false twins. Silicon bonds are weaker and less prone to forming large, complex molecules.
So they might just be a supplement.
Despite this, they can withstand a wider range of temperatures, opening up intriguing possibilities.
Life based on the silicon atom instead of carbon would be more resistant to the extreme cold, providing a whole new range of weird forms.
But silicon has a problem. In the presence of oxygen, it binds into solid rock. To avoid turning to stone, silicon beings might be confined to oxygen-free environments, like Saturn's frigid moon, Titan. Its vast lakes of liquid methane and ethane could be an ideal medium for silicon-based life or other radical biochemistries. Without ample sunlight, beings on worlds like Titan would likely be chemosynthetic, deriving their energy by breaking down rocks.
Really?
Such life forms could have ultra-slow metabolisms and life cycles measured in millions of years.
And frozen worlds aren't the only possible harbor for exotic life. We're on 7 meters.
In high temperatures, typically rigid silicon-oxygen bonds become more flexible and reactive, triggering more dynamic chemistry. This has led to a truly bizarre proposal: silicon-based life forms that live inside molten silicate rock. In theory, these forms could even exist deep beneath the Earth inside magma chambers as part of a shadow biosphere. If so, then the aliens are right under our noses. Other shadow biospheres have been proposed, forms of life living alongside us that we don't even know are here, including tiny RNA-based life small enough to go undetected by existing instruments.
I agree with that. That's probably true.
Clouds of dust in empty space might seem like the last place you'd expect to find anything living. But when cosmic dust makes contact with plasma, a type of ionized gas, something strange happens. In simulated conditions, dust particles have been seen spontaneously self-organizing into helical structures that resemble DNA. These plasma crystals even begin to exhibit lifelike behavior, replicating, evolving into more stable forms, and passing on information.
Could these crystals be considered alive? Sure. Some researchers, they meet all the criteria to qualify as inorganic life forms. So far, we have only ever seen them in computer simulations. But some speculate we could find them among the ice particles in the rings of Uranus.
Plasma is the most common state of matter in the universe.
Wow.
If complex evolving plasma crystals really exist,
I gotta say, man, Melody Sheep does teach a lot. Like, there's a lot I learn whenever I watch something like that, something like from him. But yeah, I'm learning a lot. Just maybe it's because I failed chemistry and you know, I did okay in biology, but you know, that's fine. But I mean, it's not like it's a part of my everyday life. But yeah, I really appreciate how educational this is.
and if they can be considered life, they could be its most common form.
I would assume he specializes this in somehow. Specializes in this somehow. Or perhaps life is lurking in the polar opposite environment, inside the hearts of dead stars. Intriguing.
When massive suns explode, some collapse into ultra-dense cores called neutron stars. Hulking masses of atomic nuclei crammed together like sardines. Conditions on the surface are mind-boggling. Gravity is 100 billion times stronger than Earth's. But beneath their iron nuclei crust lies something strange. A hot, dense sea of neutrons and subatomic particles. Stripped of their electron shells, these nuclei would obey entirely different laws of chemistry, based not on the electromagnetic force, but the strong nuclear force which binds nuclei together. In theory, these particles could link up to form larger macronuclei, which could then combine into even bigger supernuclei. If so, then this bewildering environment would mimic the basic conditions for life: heavy nucleon molecules floating in a complex particle ocean. Some scientists have proposed the unimaginable: exotic life forms drifting through the strange particle sea, living, evolving, and dying on incomprehensibly fast timescales.
Probably no chance of ever detecting such a strange breed of life. But there may be hope for finding an even more exotic form. What would that be, Mr. Sheep?
Life is not something that has to evolve naturally. It can be designed.
The question is by who?
And once intelligence is introduced into the evolutionary process, a Pandora's box is opened.
Oh yeah. We're already there, man. Look no further than CRISPR. But I guess the question is that even organic at that point? It's not, right? Unless you're incorporating some organic elements, like kind of like a cyborg thing. But it's so far... It's so far adjusted from what life is traditionally thought of. I'm not sure if it even qualifies anymore. Sick image, though.
Freed from typical biological limitations, synthetic and machine-based life could be the most successful of all.
Oh yeah, I'd agree.
It could thrive almost anywhere, including the vacuum of space, opening up vast frontiers unavailable to biological organisms. And compared to the glacial pace of natural selection, technological evolution allows exponentially faster growth, adaptability, and resilience. By some estimates, autonomous self-replicating machines could colonize an entire galaxy in as little as 1 million years.
Oh, something short. You know, no biggie. Just 1 million. A cool million.
can't predict how hyper-intelligent life would organize itself.
Better than we could.
But in theory, there could be convergent evolution at play. The electrical properties of silicon might make it a universal basis for machine intelligence, a redemption for its biological shortcomings.
But again, all this, I would have to see some kind of sentient organism already in place and then incorporating this stuff. Unless, right? Because it's like, computers just don't exist. Technology just doesn't exist on its own. It has to be created by something. And I can't see another scenario, or I can't imagine another scenario that wouldn't be the case. So maybe, unless I'm wrong, I could be completely, I could have misinterpreted something, right? But I would imagine this has to come from some kind of sentient life in order to exist, right? I mean, I feel like that was a really dumb comment. Obviously, I misinterpreted it, right? Obviously, Melody Sheep kind of... But I'm sure he covered that base. With all its potential advantages, machine life may even be a universal endpoint. The apex of evolutionary process. I'd agree with that. Again, sooner or later, I think all civilizations get to this point. In some form or another. It may not be like nuts and bolts like we have it, but it may be some kind of combination of like organic and mech or something. But I think all civilizations arrive at this point somehow. Different variations. Yes. So here. This is perfect because this is exactly what I was.
As the universe ages, perhaps machine intelligence will come to dominate.
So, my point was when I made the point earlier about like how far along, life is. If we're here, right? If this is where we are in the timeline, we're super advanced, right? But go somewhere out here, and you're gonna find life far less advanced. I don't know. What would speed up evolution and the development of life other than time? I really don't see how you could speed the process up unless... Shit. It may be just... Like maybe... not having meteors hit? Some kind of external force changing things? That would be the only thing. Like if a planet just had the luck to never be impacted by any external force, then you might get uninterrupted civilization. And then I think if you're this far out, that's how you can become far advanced. But if you're one of us, we got nuked a couple times. You know what I mean? We got wiped. So for us, maybe it's not as big of a thing, but out here, if you're untouched by any catastrophic events, you might be well beyond us.
And
by
naturally
billions
occurring biological life will be viewed as a quaint starting point. Perhaps we ourselves will lead this transition, and the great human experiment will be merely a first link in a sprawling intergalactic chain of life.
In the end, we are still the only beings we know of in the Museum of Alien Life. You know what I always found super endearing about us as humans? We're soft, squishy, vulnerable, emotionally susceptible. But that's not what makes us special. That we have fingers and toes. That we have heartbeats. It's none of that. It's what's up here. That is what makes us special, and that is what separates us from everybody else. Our imagination, our ingenuity, our ability to change and adapt. Like, I think that's what sets us apart, even from species that are more advanced than us, probably in another life, you know, on another planet with more resources. I think that's what truly makes us special and unique. So although this image, like if you were to put another statue here and another statue here of this alien that looks impressive, compared to us, soft, squishy, very little muscle mass compared to probably a lot of things you're going to find out there, no utilities like jaws or claws. What stands out is so unassuming and invisible. And I love that about us. I love that it's all right up here. That's what makes us unique, and that's what makes us special. I take heart in that. I really do. To truly know ourselves, we will have to know. Are we the only ones? God, no. Hell no. We're not the only ones. Too many possibilities.
Lauren Isley has said that one does not meet oneself until one catches the reflection from an eye other than human.
They also say one does not simply walk into Mordor.
One day that eye may be that of an intelligent alien.
I mean, I'm sure we are to other
the sooner
people.
we eschew our narrow view of evolution,
Isn't that funny to think about?
the sooner we can truly explore our ultimate origins and destinations.
We have seen what could be out there. And we know how we might find it. There's only one thing left to do. Go look. Musk is on the case, don't worry about it. Phenomenal. Yeah, he nailed it, man. I can see why people really like this one. And it's not ironic that he put handcrafted, because it really does feel that way. What I really like about Melody Sheep is he really does craft these experiences to feel very high level, high quality. And you can't really escape the fact that he really puts a lot of time into this. Amazing, man, amazing. If you were able to get inside a suit, right, that gave you all the nutrients you needed to survive. Let's say we figured something out where you didn't have to physically eat and drink, but let's say there was a plug that you could use. Almost like the Matrix, you know, you plug something in the back of your head. If you could do that in a suit, that would protect you from all kinds of environments. Think of like a Master Chief Halo suit, a Spartan 117 suit, or Spartan suit. If you could wear that and just go into space, and you could maneuver and go as far as your lifespan will let you, would you do it? You could go into a black hole if you wanted to. You could fly through Saturn if you wanted to. It only depends on if you are willing to take the journey. Would you do it? You'd be comfortable in the suit. You'd be able to survive elements, extreme temperatures. Again, you could go into a black hole if you really wanted to. I would be terrified. It feels like one of those things that are like, if you were ever to go into the ocean. Like, I don't know if this happens to you guys, but for me, like when I see shipwrecks, when I see weird things, like big things, like even scale-wise, freaks me out a little bit. I don't know what it is or why. But when something is colossal and you're just this small against like a black hole that is a colossal black hole, like something that swallows entire planets, that makes suns look like specks of dust or grains of sand in a desert, would you take the suit and would you go explore? I don't know. I think I would. I think I would. And the suit would be fast. It wouldn't be like a slow thing. You'd get some you get speed enough to actually make some distance. But I don't know. That's just me. All right. Check you out.